Here we are. It's a brand new day. I'm Anthony Davis. We've got lots to talk about today. Hopefully you can join us. This is the only place where you and your Echo device can watch and listen to live shows and chat with hosts in real time. We are here in the Anthony Davis Show Monday through Friday between 9 and 11 a.m. That's Pacific. You can also find us on the Eastern time zone as well and on the Central one. Just, work it out. Do the nudge yourself. Now, it's easy to get involved in the show. You just send a message. You can ask questions, chime in on what we're talking about, or anything else you want to send our way. If you can see me right now and you're watching on an Echo show or Fire TV, the magic word is say. So wake up your device, say the word say, and then your message. If you're listening right now on an Echo speaker and you can't see me, please just go to backchannel.tv and click join the chat. That's backchannel.tv. Easy. Stacey's already in. Welcome. Lots of people have been playing Word of the Day, and if you're still there and you wouldn't want to hang out with us, we're going to talk about what's happening in America, looking at some of the news stories, looking at what's happening with the local newspapers, because we go all around the country looking at the local newspapers. And we're going to talk about Trevor Reed, the former U.S. Marine who was held in a Russian jail since 2019. He's been released in a prisoner swap. All the Russians wanted in return was an iPod. So it was just a classic iPod. No, I'm kidding. They didn't swap a prisoner for an iPod. That would be foolish. I was just trying to make it more interesting. No, they swapped him for Britney Spears. That's all they wanted. Straight swap. Also, we're going to investigate what it could mean with Elon Musk in charge of Twitter. Do you know, I was thinking, I don't think Elon Musk's going to go through with this, I think he might pay the $1 billion fine. I think Musk is going to be like, too much trouble. I'm just not going to do it. And he'll pay the $1 billion fine. There's a $1 billion fine. It's either $1 billion or $44 billion. Do you know what I mean? Also, we'll investigate the Texas Governor Greg Abbott's border initiative, as reporters have repeatedly found situations where Abbott has cited accomplishments that did not match reality. That's because he's a liar. And on this day in 1791, Samuel Morse. Any ideas what he invented? That's right, Inspector Morse. No, he invented Morse code. He was a painter, born in Charleston, Massachusetts, and he's our man. So we're going to take a look at that in just a little while as well. Stacey's been playing Word of the Day. Did you win? I do love a bit of Word of the Day, but Word of the Day will be back next Wednesday, by the way, at the same time, 9 o'clock Pacific, that's 12 o'clock Eastern. So let's jump into some of the morning newspapers and see which stories are making headlines this morning, because we love a story that makes a headline. Let's take a look. The Post-Herald for Alabama. They lead with Moon Memories. Retired NASA astronaut Charlie Duke, who's 86, discusses the 50th anniversary of his trip to the moon aboard Apollo 16 in Huntsville on Wednesday. The capsule is housed at the U.S. Space and Rocket Center, located near NASA's Marshall Space Flight Center. I don't know if he went to the moon. I mean, maybe he did. Maybe he did. It's a very convincing argument, I get it. I've got these new binoculars, and I look at the moon when it's full, and I'm telling you, it doesn't seem that far away. Looking at it through these binoculars, it really doesn't seem that far away. It's actually probably quicker to get to the moon than it is to drive to LAX sometimes for me. So, something to consider. Report says chicken feces threatening Coosa River. Well, that's put me right off my breakfast. A national environmental group says Alabama is home to 2 of the 10 most endangered rivers in the country. The Mobile River was named the 3rd most endangered American river this week by the group American Rivers. I wonder where they got their name. The group cited massive amounts of coal ash stored along the Mobile River, that is the river's biggest threat, and chicken waste and sewage overflows are the most significant issues impacting the Coosa. So there we go. It's the Coosa. Do not drink from the Coosa River in Alabama. That's my advice. Just don't do it. It's not worth it. It's disgusting. Let's look at another paper in Alabama, the Decatur Daily. They lead with chief candidates low morale and issue. This is one of the 3 finalists for the chief of the Decatur Police Department. 2 are employed there. The other is retired from the department recently. All agree that inadequate staffing and low morale are the department's major challenges. I do worry about some of these smaller police, departments that. Because, they all are basically run and managed independently. There's nothing that really joins all of these police people together. This is why they all commit different crimes, because they get away with it. So there we go. That's interesting. Court could open way to end Trump asylum policy. The Supreme Court on Tuesday questioned lower court's orders that have blocked the Biden administration from ending a controversial Trump-era immigration program for asylum seekers. Questions from conservative and liberal judges during nearly 2 hours of argument suggested the court could free the administration to end the Remain in Mexico policy that forces some people seeking asylum in the U.S. to wait in Mexico for their hearings. So we will see in the coming days kind of how that plays out. Priceville students learn beekeeping in agri-science. I'm very scared of beekeeping, I'll be honest. Knowing me, I'd put that white costume on and I'd leave a gap. That's my fear. My fear is I'd put the costume on and I'd leave a gap, and the bees would be like, he's left a gap, and they'll just be like, come on boys, head for the gap, and they'll all like be in here, and I'll be like, ooh, it's not for me. It's not for me. Putin gets what he didn't want, Ukraine army closer to west, it says. The longer Ukraine's army fends off the invading Russians, the more it absorbs the advantages of Western weaponry and training. Exactly the transformation President Vladimir Putin wanted to prevent by invading in the first place. The list of arms flowing to Ukraine is long and growing longer. It includes new American battlefield aerial drones and the most modern US and Canadian artillery, anti-tank weapons from Norway and others, armoured vehicles and anti-ship missiles from Britain, and Stinger counter-air missiles from the US, and from Denmark and from other countries. It says if Ukraine can hold off the Russians, its accumulating arsenal of Western weapons could have transformative effects in a country that has, like other former Soviet republics, relied mainly on arms and equipment from the Soviet era. But sustaining that military aid won't be easy. It's costly and for some supplier nations politically risky. Well, Putin did say yesterday that anybody that's trying to arm the Ukrainians is basically threatening Russia directly. And that is a worry that he'll kind of take that attitude. So that is a concern. Anyway, you can see that article there on the screen. Let's just say hello to a couple of people because you're lining up in your droves. Stacey won the $50 Amazon gift card. Stacey, you practically work for Backchannel now. You're practically on a salary with this word of the day. I love it. Stacey shows up every week, gets herself the voucher. Brilliant. Perpetual Bedbug has joined us. Michelle, Lee, Tori, welcome to you all. Don't forget to press the subscribe button on your screen. And if you'd like to send me a message, you can see me right now, then you're watching on an Echo Show or a Fire TV. The magic word is say. So just wake her up, then say the word say, and then your message. If you're just listening right now on an Echo speaker, and you can't see me, just go to backchannel.tv and click join the chat. That's backchannel.tv. There you go. Keep subscribing, keep messaging. Let's jump into some more of the morning newspapers here. Let's go to the Dothan Eagle now. And they lead with absentee voting deadlines near. It says with less than a month for voters to apply for absentee ballots ahead of the May 24th primary election. Things are a little slower than they were 2 years ago when a record 7,000 absentee ballots were cast in Houston County. Of course, 2020 was a presidential election year, and the country was in the midst of a pandemic, with many voters choosing to vote by absentee ballots over going to the polls on election day. It says it's very slow at this point, but I think that some of that may also be that I'm comparing it to 2020 when we had absentee among COVID. Yes. We're hoping that people are not disinterested and they are just excited and they want to go to the polls instead of voting absentee, and that people are just ready to get out. Listen, take my advice. Please just go and vote. Just vote. Vote like your life depends on it. Because I worry that if anybody doesn't bother voting in this midterm election, they're going to be very unhappy with the results. Alia opens driving license offices with new system. Alabama Law Enforcement Agency, that's Alia, their driver's license offices opened for business on Tuesday after successfully migrating to a new management system. I bet that was terrifying. Can you imagine being the one to press the button that migrates everybody's driver's licenses over to a new service? Be like, I don't want to do it. Just do it. Just press it. I don't want to do it. This beekeeping costume's got a hole in it. Anyway, the new Alabama Law Enforcement Agency driver license system, known as LEADS, replaces the decades-old system. What an amazing accomplishment, said the Secretary Hal Taylor in an agency news release. This is only the beginning of Alia's overall initiative to utilize technology to advance and provide enhanced quality service for the citizens of our great state. I mean, so much should be automated now, like everything. Everything should be automated. I really cannot see why you would want to have anything do anything manually. I mean, I paid for my vehicle registration online and I still haven't had the stickers arrive, but I'm really hoping it worked. And now they keep hitting me with emails saying, your registration's about to expire. And I'm like, I paid for this like weeks ago. See, the people that send the emails reminding you, they have no relationship with the people that took your money. That's the problem. Yes. Oh, yes, there's a Bible quote. For I heard them say, let us go to Dothan. Genesis 37, chapter 37, verse 17. Do you really think... I mean, maybe it's just a coincidence. I don't think it's the same Dothan. I think it might be Dothan in, Israel. Interesting story here. Twitter has struggled with free speech before, it says. Elon Musk, the world's richest man, is spending $44 billion to acquire Twitter with the stated aim of turning it into a haven for free speech. There's just one problem. The social platform has been down this road before and it didn't end well. Yes, a decade ago, a Twitter executive dubbed the company the free speech wing of the Free Speech Party to underscore its commitment to untrammeled freedom of expression. Subsequent events put that moniker to the test. As representative regimes crack down on Twitter users, particularly in the wake of the short-lived Arab Spring demonstrations. In the US, a visceral 2014 article by journalist Amanda Hess exposed the incessant vile harassment many women faced for just posting on Twitter or other online forums. And over the subsequent years, Twitter had learned a few things about the consequences of running a largely unmoderated social platform. One of the most important being that companies generally don't want their ads running against violent threats, hate speech that bleeds into incitement, and misinformation that aims to tip elections or undermine public health. Says with Musk, his posturing of free speech, just leave everything up. That would be bad in and of itself, said Paul Barrett, the Deputy Director of the Human for Business and Human Rights at New York University. If you stop moderating with automated systems and human reviews, a site like Twitter in the space of a short period, you would have a cesspool. Well, I agree. I mean, there's a difference between hate speech and free speech, and people don't seem to get their heads around that, you know? And many countries, including where I'm from, suggests that, having anti-hate speech models are, necessary. To have some law to prevent hate speech or to crack down on hate speech is essential. That's my feeling, anyway. free speech can never be fully free because there will always be a victim. And you have to protect victims from the hatred that is free speech. The other thing is, a lot of people are also very... a lot of people feel very emotionally unable to take criticism, And so it's very easy to dish it out, but to actually take it, it's hard for people, Beverly joined us from Washington, first time on the show. Beverly, welcome. Nice to see you, or nice to hear you. If you would like to watch the show, you can see it on YouTube. You can go by an Echo Show, or you can message me via backchannel.tv. And Mojo the Lizard King is here as well. Hello, Mojo. Welcome. Just a reminder that you're here watching Backchannel. I'm Anthony Davis, and if you're enjoying the show, there's a couple of ways you can support the show. If you're watching right now and you see that subscribe button, please click it. Subscribing will let you know when we are going live. And I also have some special plans coming up in the next few weeks for those of you who are subscribed. Another way you can help us out, no matter where you're watching or listening, is by leaving a review. Just go to backchannel.tv and click Leave a Review. Yes, your positive reviews keep this show going. That's backchannel.tv and click Leave a Review. Okay, back to the morning papers. What else do we have? Well, that's the Dothan Eagle. Let's jump on to the next one. Next. The Herald Bulletin for Indiana. Isn't that where Mike Pence is from, the whitest man in America? Broderick says, city weathers pandemic's challenges. The city of Anderson survived the pandemic in good financial shape, and work is progressing on future projects, according to the mayor, Thomas Broderick Jr. Yes, I loved his father in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Broderick gave his annual State of the City address on Monday at a meeting of the Madison County Historical Society. He said 2 years ago, when he made the annual address, the community was first starting to deal with the pandemic. He said, we met the extraordinary challenge with no layoffs of employees and no interruption of city services. That's good. Russia halts gas supplies to Poland and Bulgaria. Yeah, this is a big story. The two countries wouldn't pay in Russian rubles, as Putin has demanded. So it's cutting off natural gas deliveries, that's methane gas, by the way, to their countries due to their refusal to pay in Russian rubles, a demand made by President Vladimir Putin after sanctions were levied against his nation over the invasion of Ukraine. He's trying to kind of balance the currency again, and that's why he wants the rubles. Who can blame him? Hands-on learning, AU dedicates state-of-the-art electrical engineering lab. And a young man called Cam May, he's demonstrating some electrical equipment. I don't know what it does, but it looks fantastic. Two Democrats seeking the 5th Congressional District nomination. This is to face the incumbent Republican Victoria Spartz in November. According to finance reports filed with the Federal Commission, Spartz has $1.2 million in her campaign fund, and she spent no money in 2022. The uncontested Republican primary for the nomination. I mean, this whole fundraising thing is just insane. I realized yesterday, that all of Ron DeSantis is posturing. Everything about Disney and everything about, critical race theory and maths books and all this garbage. It's all for fundraising. It came to me like a bolt out of the blue. I was like, hang on a second. Now I know why he's doing all this. And, because of it, he's now raised $108 million. I mean, it's incredible. It's like an unprecedented amount. The most that's ever been raised before is like 30 million. This guy has got a platform. He's got a platform. And so he's using it to raise money. That's all he's doing. Okay, next up, on the old newspaper front, that was the Herald Bulletin. Let's go to the Journal Gazette. Stay in Indiana just for a moment. Council questions trash hauler. What's he doing? Not taking the trash away or something? It's an $11 million first-year contract. and there's a concern. The contract would cost the city $10.75 per month per household. Reflected on a resident's typical utilities solid waste bill would be an $8 monthly increase, bringing the bill to $20 from $12. It's a lot of money. There's a lot of money in refuge collection, I'm telling you. There really is. Big time. Refuse. Did I say refuge? Refuse. Woman pleads guilty in slaying, likely to get 30 years for beating stepson. 58% of us showed signs of prior COVID infection. This is very interesting, actually, because this story was actually about kids. Yesterday they said 3 in 4 children have had COVID in one way or another. And more than half of all Americans had signs of previous infections, according to the CDC. The researchers examined blood samples from more than 200,000 Americans and looked for virus-fighting antibodies made from infections, not from vaccines. They found that signs of past infection rose dramatically between December and February, when the more contagious Omicron variant surged through the US. It's kind of amazing, isn't it, if you think about it? Because they're also testing sanitation systems now. They're basically testing wastewater, and that's a much better way, much more accurate way to find out where coronavirus is and how it's maneuvering. It's very interesting to me. U.S. urges allies to keep arms flowing to Ukraine. This is the U.S. pressing its allies yesterday to move heaven and earth to keep Kiev well supplied with weapons, as Russian forces rained fire on eastern and southern Ukraine amid growing new fears the war could spill over the country's borders. For the second day in a row, explosions rocked the separatist region of Transnistria in neighboring Moldova, knocking out 2 powerful radio antennas close to the Ukrainian border. In other developments, Poland and Bulgaria said the Kremlin is cutting off natural gas supplies to the 2 NATO countries starting today, the first such actions of the war. Both nations had refused Russia's demands that they pay in rubles. It's kind of crazy, isn't it? Crazy. So there we go. There's the Journal Gazette for you. Staying in Indiana, finally the Palladium item. I suddenly got very hungry. Did you get hungry just now, Carla? Did you suddenly get hit with a bolt of hunger? You had potatoes. Well, in true Irish tradition, just potatoes. Is that all? How were they prepared? Were they raw? Oh man, that sounds like such a good dinner. But I want to know how you prepared the potatoes. Did you eat them raw like an apple? Like the Irish do? Or did you mash them? Or did you saute them? Or did you bake them? Oh, this is delicious. I'm gonna go. I might have to leave in a minute and just go and have a potato. We're gonna turn it into a daily feature in the show. It's gonna be called the Potato Break, and where everybody, including you have to go off and eat a potato and then come back. I know. Don't stop it. I'm so hungry. She's reading off a list of accompaniments to the potato. Potato and beans right now. Oh my God, that would be delicious. Potato and beans. You're joking me, aren't you? Do you know, baked beans here? I took a photo of some baked beans in the supermarket here. Some Heinz baked beans, which is the British brand for the best baked beans. I took a photograph of it. I'll send it to you. It was, for a can of beans, solitary can, about $5 for the can. Yeah. Made me very sad. I mean, in England, that can would be about 35 pence. 35 to 50 pence, depending on where you go. And yet, the cost of importing it and all of the additional profit that's made by the retailers You're looking at $5 for a can of beans. It's just unacceptable. Do you know, in some of the cheaper supermarkets in England, a can of the baked beans would be like, beans in a tomato sauce. Have you ever bought the beans from Aldi or Lidl? They're like 3 pence. A can of beans is 3 pence. Yeah, but, here's my trick. There used to be a very good chef called Anthony Worrell Thompson in London, and he had a great recipe for baked beans, how to make them better. And I found that if I bought the 3 pence baked beans from Aldi, he said add Heinz tomato ketchup, just a little bit, because it was like vinegary and yummy, and then add a little sugar, and add what was the other thing? Sugar and brown sauce, a little brown sauce, and just make a more of a kind of barbecue-y version. Because most of the beans that are sold here in America are like barbecue beans. The plain tomato beans, they're not really very popular. Can't find them anywhere. That's why you have to pay so much. I mean, Trader Joe's does a very good baked bean. But it's also got molasses in it, and molasses makes it unctuous. Just saying. But even those are a couple of bucks. Love a Swedish meatball, Love a Swedish meatball. I think it's time for the US News Update. It's a daily podcast that I make that is like a look across the United States and find out what's happening in the news. So we'll play it now, and if you like it, you can subscribe to it wherever you get your podcast. It's completely free. It's called the US News Update. Here it is. It's Wednesday, April 27. From the Volley Network, this is your daily US News Update. I'm Anthony Davis. US Vice President Kamala Harris has tested positive for COVID-19 on Tuesday, but is not exhibiting symptoms, a spokesperson said, at a time when there has been an increase in cases amongst White House staffers. Harris has not been in close contact with President Joe Biden or First Lady Jill Biden due to their travel schedules. Harris will isolate and return to the White House when she tests negative. The Biden administration on Tuesday outlined its plan to tackle border security, pushing back against criticism that it is unprepared for a late May deadline to lift COVID restrictions that have blocked asylum seekers and other migrants at the US-Mexico border since early 2020. While the end of the restrictions were thrown into doubt this week by a federal court, the administration of Democratic President Joe Biden said it was still preparing for an increase in the already historic number of border crossings. Republicans and some Democrats have lambasted Biden's decision to terminate by May 23rd the pandemic-era order known as Title 42, saying the Biden administration lacks an adequate plan. A judge in Louisiana on Monday said he intended to halt the termination of the order. The administration said the government has been prepping for the order's end since the fall of last year. Many of the elements of a 6-point plan presented on Tuesday had been announced before the outline memorializes the administration's ongoing efforts. Your daily US News Update is part of the Volley Network. To hear my live daily morning show, ask your Amazon Echo device to open Backchannel. There it is, the US News Update. Get it wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Anthony Davis. This is Backchannel. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the channel. Welcome to everything. We're here every weekday, Monday through Friday, from 9 o'clock Pacific. For a couple of hours, that's 12 o'clock Eastern, and you can send me a message. If you can see me right now and you're watching on an Echo show or Fire TV, the magic word is say. So just wake her up, say the word say, and then your message. And if you're listening right now on an Echo speaker and you can't see me, well, go to backchannel.tv and click join the chat. That's backchannel.tv. But if you can see me, well, hit me up with a little subscribe. That's the way to go. Okay, let's go back to the morning papers because there's so many here. And Barb's joined us. Bill's here from Texas, first time on the show. Hi, Bill. You can press subscribe as well on your Echo show if you'd like to. We were looking at the Palladium item. Task force confiscates drugs and weapons. A team seizes 150 grams of drugs, $800 in cash, and 2 handguns, with the SWAT team members knocking at an apartment door. Ohio board member resigns. This is the school board president leaves after an encounter with the predator catchers. Ohio man has resigned from his position as president of a local school board after a weekend encounter with predator catchers. Muncie. Members of the local school media group said John Gray, resident of Goshen, Ohio, a northeastern suburb of Cincinnati, had been in contact online with a member of predator catchers Muncie, who was posting as a juvenile. Gray was confronted by members of the group on Saturday at the Dollar General store in Farmland. Gray was not arrested. I mean, this is basically entrapment, isn't it? This is where somebody poses as a child to try and entrap a potential paedophile. But the problem being that no crime has been committed, so it's a bit of a grey area. So that would be, that's certainly interesting to analyze because, you get the sense that, it's good that these things happen because, it's just a shame that entrapment is the way that they have to go about it. You know what I mean? Wildfires roaring. Yes, firefighters in multiple states battle blazes and they get a weather break to fight the flames. It says here, firefighters across the country are battling multiple wildfires as dry conditions and high winds whip up flames from Arizona to Florida. The flames have led to damage and a death. A prairie fire in rural southwestern Nebraska has killed 1 person, injured at least 15 firefighters, and destroyed at least 6 homes. Temporary home evacuations occurred in New Mexico and Arizona. A break in the weather in parts of the Midwest and Arizona allowed crews to make progress on some of the nearly dozen new large fires that were reported in recent days across the nation. The interesting thing yet again, and I've said this before, not a solitary mention of climate change. All they talk about is the fires. They talk about 1,050 square miles burned. They talk about the land singed is outpacing the 10-year average by 30%, and not a single mention of climate change. And this story comes from the USA Today network, although it's on the front of the Palladium item. Is this not proof that there are people working in the media who don't want you to mentally connect extreme weather events with climate change? Or is it just an oversight? They just don't get it. They don't realize that that's their job as journalists, is to connect these events to climate change, to remind us all. Because if every article about extreme weather talked about the effects of climate change and the connection with climate change, it might make you change your habits. It might make you think a little differently about everything. It'd be nice, wouldn't it? Okay, what's up next? Ohio board member resign. Oh no, I've read that one. Hang on. There we go. So I think that's the Palladium item done right now. So thank you very much. Cody's just dropped in from Tennessee. Welcome, Cody. You're using an Echo show, so you can click the subscribe button in the bottom left-hand corner. Stacey says it's 11 o'clock Central Time now. Is Central Time just an hour beyond? Maybe it is. I thought it was 2 hours. I mean, this is clearly my short-sightedness. I can only apologize. I'm not a native. I'm just doing my best, as an immigrant in a strange country. Boy, is it strange. Okay, back to the newspapers now. And let's see where we've got. We do the Palladium. Let's go to Ohio and the Akron Beacon Journal. Candidate had conflict of interest. This is Mike Gibbons, who may be within striking distance of becoming Ohio's next Republican nominee for the U.S. senatorship, after waging a political campaign touting his Trump-tough business acumen. I mean, this is what they're all doing. They just think if they emulate Trump, then they're going to be a success, because Trump is a success, politically. And therefore, all these individuals, if they just behave like him, and they are as aggressive as him, and they are as in some ways as prejudiced as he is, then that's going to make them more popular at the ballot box. An investment banker, Gibbons' Cleveland firm doesn't take deposits or have any ATMs, but makes its money helping bankroll other companies' expansions or business plans. Most voters have never heard of any of the deals that Brown, Gibbons, and Lang has worked on, except for the one that he doesn't talk about much, Lordstown Motors. Hailed as the savior of a shuttered Central Motors plant in northeast Ohio, Lordstown Motors promised to hire hundreds of idled auto workers to make up thousands of electric pickup trucks. And riding a wave of hope and hype, the company's stock soared after its NASDAQ debut in October 2020. So there we go, that's that. Video shows fight involving Proud Boy is the... Oh, hang on a second. Let me just go back to this story because apparently it has a really good payoff. Hailed as the savior of the shuttered General Motors plant in northeast Ohio, he hired hundreds of idled auto workers. Riding a wave of hope and hype, the company's stock soared after its NASDAQ debut in October 2020, only to crash months later amid a federal investigation of exaggerated order claims to investors and concerns about the viability of the business. There you go. You see. He served as the financial advisor to Lordstown Motors as it prepared to join forces with a special purpose acquisition company in the so-called SPAC merger. So there we go. That's the conflict of interest. The Mike Gibbons could be your next senator if you're living in Ohio. Video show fight involving Proud Boy. This is video clips from street cameras in Akron's Highland Square show a more complete picture of what happened before and during a highly publicized incident in which a Proud Boy member punched a woman and yelled racial slurs at her, according to the man's attorney. The clips show fights outside a bar that took place immediately before and after Andrew Walls of Kent yelled and punched at the woman. So there we go. That's that story. And then a story about Brown's surprise butchel football players with turf field at school. Oh, I see. This is the high school had the local football team show up and basically, do a groundbreaking ceremony for the new artificial turf. That's exciting, isn't it? I do love artificial turf to the extent that I sometimes dream about it. I mean, that might sound weird, but it's just the reality, you know. If you're enjoying the show, I'm Anthony Davis. This is Backchannel. We're here every weekday, Monday through Friday, from 9 o'clock Pacific. That's 12 o'clock Eastern. You can send me a message. If you can see me right now and you're watching on an Echo show or a Fire TV, the magic word is say. So just wake her up, say the word say, and then your message. And if you're just listening right now on an Echo speaker and you can't see me, then go to backchannel.tv and click join the chat. That's the website, backchannel.tv, and click Join the Chat. There's a lot of people are doing right now, so you're very welcome. Kevin's just dropped in from Texas. Welcome. Cody, and Stacy, and Bill, and Mojo the Lizard King, and London is listening as well. So thank you for being part of the show today. It's great to know that you're here. We're just looking through the morning papers. That was the Palladium item. Oh, no, it wasn't. That was the... was that Akron? Yeah, that was Akron. Okay, let's move on paper-wise and go to... staying in Ohio, the Plain Dealer. Should we do that one now? Yes. High-speed internet access arriving faster for some. Do you know, I've been thinking about this a lot recently because I just switched my internet to fiber, and only because AT&T literally just plumbed the street a few months ago, and so I had to wait for my Spectrum contract to be up, and then I was able to go with AT&T and get fiber. It was cheaper, 10 times faster, maybe 20 times faster. It's life-changing. For me, it's life-changing for many reasons, because I like to send big files, and before they would take 20 minutes or half an hour or 45 minutes, and now 1 minute, boom, gone. 1 minute. It also means that this picture is clearer, that you and I get to see each other in a nicer visual, higher definition visual. But also, I feel like you take for granted, or you forget like what the internet can be, because your devices will be quicker. You know, if you complain, "Oh, my computer's slow," it's not your computer. It's the internet connection. The computer is really quick. And so I just worry that we are going to get to a point where some people are going to be so far left behind because they either they've never really experienced what high-speed internet is, they don't know enough about it, and they're still struggling at low speeds. And I've been talking and working with some people all around the US, and some of their internet upload speeds are so slow, I just didn't even think that it was possible to be that slow. It's like 30 years ago. And I just worry that they haven't conceptualized what it would mean to press send or, whatever, and it just happened immediately. Immediately. Carla's asking me to guess the top 10 countries with the fastest internet speed. I would say that somewhere like Japan is probably the quickest. Does Japan have the fastest internet? I'm guessing that Japan probably has the fastest internet. Not even on the list? Not even close. Okay. What about South Korea? I think they've got very fast internet. Is theirs number one? Yeah. All right. We're going to look at the list of some of the fastest countries. But I knew that South Korea. I think I was confusing South Korea with Japan. I knew that it was a kind of Asian country that was just killing it. Anyway, in Cuyahoga County, residents could soon get access to high-speed internet, but some are likely to see the improvements sooner rather than later. Yes, it was set to formally introduce the plan for a $19 million broadband expansion at a Tuesday meeting, with the goal of adding high-speed internet access in 3 phases. PCs for People, which is set to execute the contract for the county, promises 100 megabit per second upload and download speeds for 25,000 households. 100 megabits. But I'm getting 600 megabits. So how is that high-speed internet access if this is your big plan and yet 100 megabits will do. I mean, you can work with that, but I'm just saying it's like, don't claim to be bringing high-speed internet to everybody and if it's a sixth of the speed of everywhere else. Just a thought. I mean, some people get 1,000 megabits, Okay, let's look at the speeds around the world and see who's come up top. This is kind of interesting, isn't it? So the top 10 countries with the fastest broadband internet speeds are: in 10th place, South Korea. Their average speed is 212 megabits per second. Right? Still a lot more than this county. France, 214. Chile, 217. Thailand. That's amazing, 225. Denmark, 227. Switzerland, 229. Romania, 232. Hong Kong, 254. Singapore, 255. And Monaco is out front with 261. That's the fastest internet speeds for last year, the top 10 countries. Those are the average speeds. The global average download speed of fixed broadband is 113 megabits per second on fixed broadband and 63 megabits per second on mobile broadband. These are both notable improvements over the scores of 85 megabits per second just 1 year earlier. As technology becomes more advanced and networks are improved, these numbers are expected to continue to grow. I mean, Monaco's out front because it has the richest people living there, and they demand the best, I guess, You can roll it out in a smaller country. Yeah, I understand that. And then in terms of mobile broadband, it's very interesting that mobile broadband speeds are like pretty much the same. The UAE has got a 238 megabit per second average download speed. But if you think about that for a second, because one thing I don't enjoy is having cables attached to the house. In order to get fiber, they had to run a cable for 500 feet down from the other end of the street. And, sometimes the weather here is pretty crazy because we live in the desert and it's sometimes crazy. And so I was thinking, well, if that cable goes down, then what are we left with? So I'm considering getting mobile broadband as well as a backup. That's the level of investment that I'm looking at, I mean, I already have it on my phone, obviously. So it's just interesting, It's just interesting, isn't it, to kind of compare the speeds. But I think if you had the choice of getting mobile broadband now in your home instead of wired broadband, I think it's probably the better solution. And then you don't have to have any cables. And then you can take it with you. When you move, you just take the box with you because it's not plugged into anything. It's just getting everything from the sky. Clever. Okay, let's move on a little bit here and see what else we have on the old newspaper front. President leaves, but seat is filled before it gets cold. Harlan Sands is out due to differences regarding how the university should be led. That's the president of the university, of Cleveland State University. He was appointed president in January to succeed Ronald Berkman following a national search, and his contract was extended a year ago. Interesting. Yeah, $500,000 a year to run the university. I mean, I suppose that's about right, isn't it? The wages are very high here. And Cleveland is a very industrious nation, state or town, city. Finalist for the job-led search to fill the position. Steve Atkin was vice president of the Ohio State Board of Education before resigning to apply for the state superintendent job. Yeah, I mean, it all seems a little dodgy to me. You know what I mean? A little bit dodgy. There's always something dodgy going on if you sniff around too much. Okay, let's... Brandon's dropped in. Hello, Brandon. Ken is here. Kevin, Cody, Stacy, welcome. All of you, welcome to Backchannel. Great to see you. Okay, next up, that was the Plain Dealer. Let's go to the Orlando Sentinel next. Yes, jumping to Florida. Everybody's favorite place. Sales tax proposal to be on the ballot. Voters will have the final say on Mayor Jerry Demings' plan to increase the sales tax to allow transportation following years of to address transportation following years of discussion. About 5 hours of debate on Tuesday. Ultimately, the Board of County Commissioners voted 4-3 to advance the idea to the general election ballot in November. There we go. Legislation could break with bondholders. Dissolving Reedy Creek could go against a promise not to interfere with the district. Yes, this is, again, Ron DeSantis. I said this yesterday. He doesn't have any jurisdiction to change the rules for Reedy Creek. And yet, he has benefited to the tune of a massive amount of fundraising because of it. It's all fundraising. It's opening the door to lawsuits from investors and complicating the GOP's push to punish what they call a woke corporation. DeSantis signed legislation on Friday to abolish the Reedy Creek Improvement District on June 1st. That special district effectively allows Disney to self-govern its theme park and resort properties in central Florida. A promise to Reedy Creek's bondholders could stand in his way, said Jacob Schumer, a Maitland attorney specializing in local government. Florida pledged to bondholders that the state would not limit or alter the rights of the district and levy and collect taxes and raise revenue through fees and other means. He's going to have egg on his face over this, isn't he? Let's be honest. House GOP role in January 6 plan wider. Yes, more information is coming out. This is after CNN yesterday dropped a whole bunch of text messages. Did a big expose. They say it was less than 2 weeks before Trump's staunchest allies in Congress would have what they saw their last chance to overturn the 2020 election. And Representative Scott Perry was growing anxious. Time continues to count down, he wrote in a text message to Mark Meadows, the White House Chief of Staff, adding 11 days to the January 6 and 25 days to inauguration. We got to get going. It has been clear for more than a year that ultra-conservative members of Congress were deeply involved in attempts to keep Trump in power. They joined baseless lawsuits, spread the lie of widespread election fraud, and more. Very interesting. Very interesting. And then finally, this is a story about Yarnell Sampson. Slowly toured the memorial next to the Orlando Freefall, overwhelmed by the collection of stuffed animals, flowers, sidewalk scribblings, and signs honoring his only son, wearing a black shirt, bearing a photo of the 14-year-old with the words "Fly High, Son." It was the first time since Tyre died last month his father visited the ride. He became emotional throughout the tour, and his lawyers introduced him to reporters. Basically, this is a kid who, 14-year-old son, fell to his death from the Orlando Freefall ride at Icon Park on March 24th. I mean, this is just the worst. I would never go on a ride like this in a million years. I just wouldn't dream of it. I know people love stuff like this. I just wouldn't do it. But, I mean, maybe his child was too small. The kid was 14. Looks like you have to be an adult to go on this thing. Certainly a bigger person. Oh, wow. Terrifying. Why did state just pick one publisher for its maths elementary textbooks? It says when the state of Florida rejected all but one publisher of elementary maths textbooks this month, many people wanted to know why. The State Department of Education is rejecting publishers' attempts to indoctrinate students with topics such as critical race theory and social-emotional learning, it said in a news release on April 15, coinciding with the same conservative approach backed by Republican Governor Ron DeSantis. Well, the only winning company for K-5 math, Accelerate Learning, had been rejected by some school districts in the state because it didn't offer a print version. Since then, the Florida Democratic Party, as well as some community members, have questioned what, if any, political influence was wielded and how it could tie into Glenn Youngkin, a Republican who was elected as governor of Virginia in November. So, interesting. There's always, anything that these people come out with that seems crazy, like banning these books, you only have to dig a little bit deeper to find out that there's actually another story behind it. Nothing is what it seems with these people. The Pensacola News-Journal study polluted water flows to Bruce Beach. Data says unseen leaks making their way into stormwater system. This is becoming a big problem everywhere, isn't it? It's the failure of companies to replace infrastructure, and then water gets cross-polluted. FPL to front increased fuel costs for now, it says. The volatility in natural gas prices has given the state's largest utility pause over raising customers' monthly bills, for now at least. They say that's one bit of good news. Just the one? This is Florida Power and Light said it's not practical to ask the Florida Public Service Commission permission through what's called a mid-course correction to charge customers more to cover the rising cost of natural gas as the war in Ukraine rages on. So for now, the gas company is going to have to weather the additional costs of that. And then finally, DeSantis signs bill to create new election security unit. Yes, this is a new security office will be created to investigate claims of voter fraud, while increased penalties could be imposed on those violating state election laws, under a measure signed on Monday by Governor Ron DeSantis. The legislation was approved by the Republican-controlled State House and Senate in mostly party-line votes, and marks the second straight year when DeSantis drove election changes through the legislature. Many of the top provisions of last year's law were struck down last month as unconstitutional by a federal judge, although DeSantis appeared undeterred on Monday. He said, the bill I'm going to sign today really builds on the success that we had last year. I think some of these things are really going to be significant, he said. Yeah. There was no election fraud. There was none. The only election fraud that's going on is what's going on now by you guys. I mean, you could argue creating a new election security unit is in itself election fraud, because you're trying to divert attention away from a legitimate election. Sorry, he's not my favourite person. A reminder that Backchannel has a growing list of shows, including Haley and Alison's Good Morning. You can start your morning from 3 a.m. That's Pacific, 6 o'clock Eastern, with 2 hours of silly fun and games. Haley and Alison and producer Will have trivia as well as the answers to your burning questions and the news you might have missed. They're followed by Live Every Day with Liv Harrison from 5 a.m. Pacific, that's 7 o'clock Eastern. Join Liv every Monday, Wednesday and Friday morning to celebrate the little things in life in an extraordinary way. Candid conversations, lots of laughs and plenty of coffee will fuel you and encourage you to live every day. And then on air just before me is Get On Up with Jam and Renee. Wake up on the West Coast with community and conscious living. Jam and Renee have it all covered from what people think to who's wearing what. You'll leave entertained and enlightened every day and learn how to pay it all forward. So there we go. Something to look forward to. Where did we get to? Did we finish the newspapers? Yeah, I think we kind of did. Oh no, we got three more. Got three more little newspapers. First, though, a reminder that you're watching Backchannel, and I'm Anthony Davis, and it's the only place on your Echo device where you can watch and listen to live shows and chat with hosts in real time. I'm here every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. Pacific, that's 12 o'clock Eastern. You can send a message, ask questions, chime in on what we're talking about, or anything else you want to send our way. If you can see me right now and you're watching on an Echo show or a Fire TV, the magic word is say. So wake her up, say the word say, and then your message. And if you're just listening right now on an Echo speaker and you can't see me, go to backchannel.tv and click Join the Chat. That's backchannel.tv and click Join the Chat. And lots of people have joined the chat. Thank you very much. Zippy Badger's in. Christina's dropped in from Meg Hana. AJ's here. Jessica's in as well. Hi, Jessica. Brandon. So if you are and you want to spend a bit of time with us, then you're very welcome. Ken and Kevin, all of you. What a pleasure. If you're in and your name is no name, then you want to change your name, just ask your device to change your name, and it'll do that for you. AJ, first time on the show, click the subscribe button if you see that there in the bottom left-hand corner, and you'll be reminded about this show each day. Okay, back to the papers. We're going to jump on to the... Where are we? Here we go. Virginia and Politico. Manchin stirs bipartisan pot on energy and climate. The West Virginia centrist, well, he's not really a centrist, he's a conservative, is just starting to gauge cross-aisle consensus on climate while his party waits for his buy-in. Yes, it says just because Joe Manchin is launching bipartisan talks on an energy and climate change package doesn't mean he's throwing in the towel on Democrats' long-sought party-line social spending and tax pill. Yes, the West Virginia Democrat reiterated on Tuesday, the day after he and Senator Lisa Murkowski organized a meeting with several Democrats and one Republican on energy and climate, that he sees a party-line bill this year as a way to reform the tax code. So, I mean, you know, Joe Manchin shouldn't be allowed to be in charge of anything, I'll be honest. You know, this is a guy who, in my opinion, is just not to be trusted in any which way. And yet, he seems to think that by leading on climate, that he'll be able to basically be in control of what happens here, you know? His remarks follow Tuesday morning meeting with Chuck Schumer to discuss strategies for combating rising inflation. He also he doesn't have much of an intellect either, you know, he doesn't seem to say very much. What awaits Biden's ambassador pick? This is the new US ambassador to Ukraine who will arrive in the country. She'll be stepping into the role at perhaps the most crucial moment in its modern history. But despite the war raging in Ukraine's east, in some ways, the first days on the job will be easier than at any point in recent memory. Interesting. So yes, Bridget Brink, her name is. She has a lot of management experience, a lot of leadership experience. Marie Yovanovitch, Washington's most recent ambassador to Ukraine, said. That's good. One Republican Trump can't touch. It's Corey Lewandowski, Donald Trump's former campaign manager. He called for Chris Sununu's head, boasting he was trying to help find someone to primary New Hampshire's three-term Republican governor. Interesting. And finally, House GOP McCarthy tape a nothing burger. Most Republicans returning to Washington on Tuesday shrugged off the leader's comments. Yes, this is Kevin McCarthy, caught on tape considering asking Trump to resign after the January 6th Capitol attack roiled the Beltway inside his conference. The House Republicans are largely shrugging it off. Well, they shrug off anything that's controversial, you know? They don't care. They have one plan, you know, that's to reinstate their supreme leader and put racism back on the map. It says whether they can stay undisturbed after a new McCarthy recording emerged on Tuesday night remains unclear. Days after the New York Times released audio of McCarthy weighing a suggestion that Trump resign, which the House Minority Leader had previously denied, a few Republicans appeared to take issue with it. McCarthy allies cited a bevy of reasons why his disavowal of his recorded comments were of little concern, from the emotional strain lawmakers experienced following last year's insurrection to the way the newspaper asked for comment. So there we go. I mean, these people, you just can't touch them, you know, they're kind of... Nobody cares about that. Nobody but the media and journalists, said Tom Emmer, former chair of the National Republican Committee. Yeah, well, journalists, yeah, who are they? You know, who cares about journalists? The Freelance Star next. A Spotsy Schools approved budget. Concerns grow as end to nutrition waivers loom. Oh, wow, this is interesting. I do worry about what children eat and the nutrition that they're not getting, you know. And apparently it was the Fredericksburg Regional Food Bank that was serving 32,000 meals to area children. More than 3 times as many meals were served during the summer in 2019 before the COVID-19 pandemic. And COVID-19 vaccine clinics set in region. This is in response from community partners and in an effort to reach neighborhoods with lower vaccination rates. They are holding... They're holding 4 free COVID-19 vaccine clinics this week. Yeah, I mean, the people are still not, you know, people are still not vaccinated. It's kind of crazy, isn't it, to me? People seek the public's help in a 33-year-old investigation as well to identify 2 males whose remains were found in Caroline County more than 33 years ago. So that's the Freelance Star. And finally, Citizen Ties. That's the last paper on our list. Asheville Bear Guide. What do you do if you see one? There's a photograph of a female black bear walking through downtown on the afternoon of April 21st. Just walking through downtown. It says it may seem odd to see a black bear in the city, but in Asheville it's not as rare as one might think. On the 21st of April, there was yet another sighting of a black bear taking a stroll downtown. Erin Keller, manager at Woolworth Walk, managed to take a video of the bear as it wandered around the intersection of Hayward Street and Battery Park Avenue. My co-worker caught sight of the bear and said, "A bear!" Customers kind of rushed outside, and I rushed outside, had my camera there, and there was a whole lot of people who crowded around and were taking pictures and watching. I think if you see a bear walking down the street, I think you should just run the other way. Or in fact, don't run. Walk gently, quietly, and slowly in the opposite direction. Don't run. You'll get chased. It's not worth it. 10:36 now here on the West Coast. That's 1:36 Eastern. Halts here at 11, by the way. Sheriff's candidates talk jail employees' feedback. 2 Democrat and 2 Republican candidates for the Bucom County Sheriff will face each other in the polls. Interesting. And Blue Ribbon Panel makes North Carolina education suggestions. So there we go. That's the newspapers. Those are the newspapers. There's a very interesting story. I don't know if it's on the front of the LA Times today, but it might be worth looking at. Carla, this might be one for you just generally, because I think you'd be very interested. This is where a LA Times reporter has uncovered something dodgy about the LA County Sheriff's Department. And the LA County Sheriff's Department then included a photograph of this journalist in their briefing, their public briefing, basically suggesting that the journalist was the enemy for reporting the story. And now the journalist is fighting back. It's very interesting. Trying to remember her name. This is where, like, law enforcement goes up against, journalists. Seeing if it's on the front here. Yes, here we go. There's a bit of a paywall here, so I can't really see it, unfortunately. But I'll send you the article. I mean, the point is that, my greatest fear is that journalists are seen as the enemy, not as the savior, the protection. Oh, if you can actually look at this story if you click on the reader. This is Los Angeles County Sheriff Alex Villanueva said on Tuesday that his department was targeting a Times journalist in a criminal leak investigation for her reporting on a departmental cover-up. But after a barrage of criticism from politicians, the newspaper and press freedom groups, he backed off his announcement and denied that he considered the reporter a suspect. He lashed out at Times staff writer during a morning news conference in which he suggested two longtime foes leaked her a surveillance video showing a deputy kneeling on the head of a handcuffed inmate. I mean, this is a massive story, but what's massive about it is the fact that he included the photograph of the journalist in his press conference. It's unprecedented. Anyway, I find it very interesting. I find stories like this very interesting, where the people that are supposed to protect us turn out to be insanely corrupt for all the wrong reasons. We need to talk about Trevor Reed, who's the former US Marine who's been held in a Russian jail since 2019. He's been released in a prisoner swap. Yes, Russia and the US have carried out an unexpected prisoner exchange in a time of high tensions, trading a Marine veteran jailed by Moscow for a convicted Russian drug trafficking trafficker serving a long prison sentence in America. The deal was announced by both countries involving Trevor Reed, an American imprisoned for nearly 3 years. It would have been a notable diplomatic maneuver even in times of peace. It was all the more surprising because it was done as Russia's war with Ukraine has driven relations with the US to their lowest point in decades. I mean, this is kind of amazing, isn't it? And it says a lot about the fact that, diplomacy, American diplomacy, is like back on track. And that means the fate of other Americans currently remained detained in Russia, including Brittany Griner, a double Olympic gold medalist in women's basketball, remains unclear for now. In a statement, the family for Paul Whelan, the former US Marine being held on spying charges, said it was full of happiness for the Reeds, but time was running out for Mr. Whelan. So, yes, he was jailed for 16 years in Russia on spying charges. The US ambassador to Russia said the sentencing would harm relations between Moscow and Washington. Very interesting, isn't it? So, that's that one. I'm going to kind of whiz through these topics a little bit because I'd really like to get them all in because they're very good. Cody's with us as well in Tennessee. Marty and Kathy and AJ, Patricia. Welcome all of you to Backchannel. Great to know that you're here, and if you'd like to send me a message, you can see me right now, and you're watching on an Echo Show or a Fire TV. The magic word is say, so wake her up, say the word say, and then your message. If you're just listening now on an Echo speaker, and you can't see me, go to backchannel.tv and click Join the Chat. That's backchannel.tv and click Join the Chat. There you go. And by the way, if you see the subscribe button on your Echo show, click it, because subscribing will let you know when we're going live, and we'll also have some special plans coming up in the next few weeks for those who are subscribed. Another way you can help us out, no matter where you're watching or listening, is leaving a review. So go to backchannel.tv, click Leave a Review, as your positive reviews help keep the show going. That's backchannel.tv and click Leave a Review. Appreciate you. Really do. Cody subscribed, Ken subscribed, Stacey subscribed. Thank you for your subscriptions. Just click the word subscribe. Cody says, I love the show. Cody, love you too. Thank you for subscribing in Tennessee. Appreciate it hugely. So Elon Musk is adding Twitter to a titanic business portfolio that includes Tesla and SpaceX and Solar City and a few other things as well. So what will a Musk takeover mean for the future of Twitter? One of his main gripes is content moderation policies, which he believes are too stringent. And I thought that would be something that we could kind of look at right now. And, we were talking a little earlier about free speech and hate speech and the difference between the two. He plans to transform Twitter from a publicly traded company to a private one and create transparency by converting it to an open source model. I mean, I don't think any of this is going to work. I think this is going to end in disaster. Twitter announced on Monday it had reached an agreement for Musk, who's the richest man in the world, according to Forbes, to acquire the company for around $44 billion. Just a small price to pay for happiness. I just can't see how making something like Twitter as expensive as that. I mean, he literally doubled the value of the company. So how could it change? And there's been lots of coverage about how it could change. They say we can't speculate on what Elon Musk is proposing and what the changes he might make, said Michelle Austin, Twitter's Director of Public Policy. For now, there will be no changes as a result of the announcement. Musk has floated a few ideas for improving the platform. His musings range from editable tweets to pledging to defeat the spam bots, but many observers are focusing on his devotion to making Twitter into a haven for free speech, as one of the biggest forces for change at the San Francisco-based company. Experts say whatever changes Musk has in mind for Twitter could be swift and sweeping, and will play a major role in determining the company's quality as a platform and longevity as a business. So it's very interesting, isn't it? I really feel like, these things need to evolve. They really need to change. But I'm not a fan of Musk, I mean, I think he's great for Tesla and I think he's great for Solar City, but I just find that his views sometimes are misinformed. I don't understand how a guy who's this smart can be in so many ways so misinformed or so fearless about the consequences of regulation. I personally believe that regulation is important. It makes us safer, Daniel Tsai, who's a business law and technology professor at the University of Toronto, he said we could see immediate changes after the deal passes shareholder approval and regulatory hurdles. Musk has the potential of cleaning up Twitter, making it a better space, or he has the potential of going the other way, which is letting it be a free-wheeling forum. So some are saying, will moderation vanish on Twitter? Some people are vowing to boycott the platform after the self-described free speech absolutist takes the reins, while others are fervently awaiting a return of some of the platform's most controversial voices. Look, Donald Trump is not going to come back, is he? This is why people are speculating. They're worried that he's going to come back. Some are thrilled that he's going to come back, but he said he won't. And my view is that he's been banned for life. And if you've been banned for life, then you don't come back. Does a change in ownership from public to private mean that suddenly his life ban can change? Trump said he wouldn't return to the platform if his lifetime ban is lifted. Penalties for offensive or otherwise questionable content could include more timeouts than lifetime bans. in keeping with Musk's more libertarian approach to the marketplace of ideas. Relaxing moderation standards in the name of free speech could open up the platform to additional hateful content. They say we've seen where untrammeled free speech brings us. It brings us to troll farms. It brings us to bad actors. It brings us to hate mobs being deployed against often marginalized people. Well, Twitter's user base might shrink if discourse on the site becomes untenable, as vulnerable populations decide engaging on the platform isn't worth the risks. And that's what I was saying earlier about people who are vulnerable, who can't take criticism. You know, you just don't realize that there's always a victim, and there is with these things, you know? There's always a victim. Okay, let's have a little move on. There was an actually interesting stats article in the Post-Standard today. Can Musk deliver on his vision for Twitter? Experts who study moderation and Twitter express doubt that the billionaire knows exactly what he's getting into. Yeah. It says he'll need to have the company start authenticating all humans, as he described it in a statement quoted in the press release announcing the acquisition. I mean, what does that mean? You know, does that mean that, I mean, I understand they want to get rid of bots, and that would be a great thing. But to authenticate a human, I mean, they're going to work out a way to cheat that, aren't they? Experts who've studied content moderation and researched Twitter for years have expressed doubt that Musk knows exactly what he's getting into. After all, there are plenty of fledgling examples of free speech-focused platforms launched in the past few years as Twitter antidotes, largely by conservatives unhappy with the company's crackdown on hate-filled tweets, harassment and misinformation. Many have struggled to deal with the toxic content, and at least one has been cut off by its own technology providers in protest. There it is. So, we'll see. You know, I mean, I'm not the type of person that would want to leave the platform. I have 14,500 followers, and I'm you know, verified. But I don't feel that I would leave until I noticed it changing significantly. Backchannel's got a growing list of shows, including Kate Cocker's Everyday Positivity Show on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 6 o'clock Pacific, that's 9 o'clock Eastern, for an hour of positive news and good vibes. And following this show every Monday through Friday is Your Pal Hal with Hal Rudnick, taking you on a tour of comedy, news and pop culture from 11 o'clock. And don't forget to check out The Drive with Mario Smith, weekdays from 1 o'clock Pacific, that's 4 o'clock Eastern. Everyone's drive home needs a second look. Mario Smith will make sure you're in the know. So there we go. Just a little reminder that this is Backchannel. I'm Anthony Davis, and I'm your host here. And this is the only place on your Echo device where you can watch and listen to live shows and chat with hosts in real time. I'm here every Monday to Friday from 9 o'clock Pacific. You can send me a message, ask questions, chime in on what we're talking about, and anything else that you might want to send our way. If you can see me right now and you're watching on an Echo show or Fire TV, the magic word is say. That's say. And then send your message. And if you're listening on an Echo speaker and you can't see me, just go to backchannel.tv and join the chat there. That's backchannel.tv. So easy to do. Super easy. Just one more of those to go, Carla, just so you know. They've all been done. All of them. Travis says if he handles Twitter half as poorly as he's managed Tesla's product launches and internal power structures, it's going to be a big old mess of half initiatives. Yes, well, you know, there's been a lot of complaints from people that work at Tesla, and the product launches have been a bit of a mess at times, you know. And this is just the reality of him, you know. I don't believe that he has a great attention to detail with some of these things. With other things he does, but with some things he doesn't, you know. But he is a genius, and I mean, SpaceX is just proof that you need to have a rocket to take off and go do its business and then come back and land in reverse on the same landing pad. I mean, come on, Elon Musk. Finally, let's look at this story. 7 times Texas leaders misled the public about Operation Lone Star Yes, this is a very interesting story, in my opinion. This is the one that suggested that Greg Abbott, the Texas governor, reporters repeatedly found situations where Abbott and DPS officials cited accomplishments that lacked crucial context or did not match reality. Well, earlier this month, Greg Abbott ratcheted up pressure on Joe Biden's administration by expanding the state's sweeping border crackdown, announcing he would bus immigrants to Washington, D.C. after they were apprehended for illegally crossing the border. Well, during a press conference launching the efforts, he didn't explain that the busing was voluntary for immigrants. Texas cities and counties where migrants seeking to stay in the country are dropped off by the federal government and must also request such transport out of state before it occurs. You see? I mean, that was like the most obvious one of all of his accomplishments. Just, repeatedly situations where they cited these accomplishments that lacked crucial context or did not match reality. Because he doesn't care. Again, it's about raising funds. The more you can do that is like political theatre, posturing, celebrating your strongman skills, whether it be busing immigrants or banning critical race theory, you are seen as the kind of person that deserves to be paid, and therefore the fundraising increases. It's all about fundraising. Nothing else. A week after his directive for vehicle safety inspections drew criticism for hampering border commerce, Abbott rescinded it, saying he'd reached agreements with 4 Mexican governors to strengthen security south of the border. The agreements mostly included measures already in place, but the governor claimed on social media last week they demonstrated Texas had accomplished more to secure the border in 2 days than Biden had done during his time in office. Well, the measures are the latest example of how Abbott and other state officials have used incomplete and sometimes misleading statements when promoting the purpose and effectiveness of Operation Lone Star. Abbott launched the initiative in March 2021, saying that it would help stop drug and migrant smuggling. In the past year, the governor has deployed more than 10,000 National Guard troops to patrol the border, to build barriers and arrest some migrant men on state criminal trespassing charges for crossing into the U.S. through private land. So there we go. That's the guy. Travis says we were told to call cosmetic defects in the Model 3's unique characteristics. Yes, because Travis worked for Tesla for a while, didn't he? That's right. Listen, I hope you've enjoyed the show today. Thank you for joining me. I'm Anthony Davis. This is Backchannel. If you can see that subscribe button in the down in the bottom left, click it. Subscribing will let you know when we're going live. And another way you can help out is by leaving a review. So just go to backchannel.tv and click Leave a Review. I'm here every Monday through Friday from 9 o'clock Pacific. So just come back tomorrow, say to your Echo, open Backchannel, and I'll be here. Coming up next is your pal Hal. Have a great